Yo, everyone. Welcome to a brand new episode of Techish.
Whoop, whoop.
Your favorite host is back.
She back. Avengers Assemble.
Abadesi of Hustle Crew, here for your D&I training needs anytime you want them. And I'm joined with the other half.
Michael Bahane. But everyone's tired of my voice, innit? But
No.
yeah, Michael's still here. CEO of Pocket Jobs.
I'm not tired of it.
Because you've been off, that's why. But the audience has had to hear me
I
without
still hear
you
it
for
on
a
the
long
voice
time.
notes you send me on the
Okay,
reg.
yeah,
So.
fair enough. Where do we want to start then? Because you've been away for a minute. There's a bunch of stuff to catch up on. But I'm guessing we've got to do this whole Drake-Kendrick thing. You know what
How
I mean?
can we avoid it? How can we
Yeah.
avoid it? Whose side are you on?
You know what? In terms of side, I think I have the unpopular side in the sense that musically, I probably do like Drake more than Kendrick, and it's not because Kendrick.
What?
Because
Cancelled.
I think
Cancel
a
him.
lot of people think I this is gonna get us absolutely cancelled, or me anyway.
You're
I
on
think
that hotline bling.
I find I don't like my rap to be pseudo intellectual, and I find people like Kendrick or Nas are like a less intelligent person's idea of what a smart person sounds like. So I actually just prefer my rappers just to sound like rappers, as opposed to like, yo man, back in Africa we was.
What? So you're telling me
You don't like the way Nas
Common?
always. Nope.
You don't like
It's just
Tupac?
If I want intelligence, I'm gonna open up a book.
Dear
I'm not
Mama.
gonna. I don't want to like hear my rappers talk about things. I want to hear my rappers talk about things that I like.
We're
rappers
gonna
talk
unpack
about.
that on
Yeah.
another
Okay. We can.
episode.
But to be fair, in terms of who's winning this battle, I think probably Kendrick is.
Oh yeah.
And
I mean, he's won a Pulitzer Prize.
He's won a Pulitzer Prize. But I mean, in terms of this back and forth between them at this moment, not necessarily
Yeah.
career-wise.
I mean, his word game's always advanced from my perspective.
Okay, and I'm not saying he's not good. He's got a lot of great songs and whatever. I'm just saying, who do I prefer? If you had to say to me, I can only listen to one of those artists for the rest of my life, in all contexts, whether that's I want to have a good time, whether I want to chill, whether I want to hear something sick.
You're saying that Drake will take care of you.
100%. Yeah, Drake will take care of me. Take care, baby. But let's talk about something serious about it though, because actually I feel like it's gone dark real quick.
Oh yeah.
Normally rap battles maybe, I mean it does get dark in other battles like Jay-Z, Nas, whatever, but this one has got to like, you know, people accusing others of being a pedophile. Drake is insinuating that Kendrick's mum, you know, SA'd him. Obviously trigger warning to anyone listening, we're talking about kind of dark topics here, but the Drake groomer thing, SA sexual assault. Sorry, I'm doing
okay.
TikTok speaking it because you know in
Yeah.
TikTok like you can't say the words otherwise TikTok will flag you in the
I'm with
algorithm.
you.
So unfortunately, yeah,
I deleted the app, so you gotta keep me.
I gotta keep you.
up to
Yeah,
date.
but I will say that the Drake grooming thing is not without credibility. I mean, it does come with some credible accusations. Obviously,
Yeah.
he was known to be in conversation with Millie Bobby Brown from Stranger Things.
Yeah.
She had footage of her saying, "Yeah, he texts me all the time" when she was like 13.
Awkward.
There was one model where he had a picture of her on Instagram where they were hugged up, and she was like 16, and I think later on they dated when she was 18.
Oh yeah, like Haley.
No, so yeah, so there was Hailey Bieber, that
Yes.
too, and there's also another, it was like a mixed race French girl, where basically something similar as well.
Oh, dear, Drake.
What's your thoughts on this?
Aubrey. Well, start with the battle. Because I feel like the worst thing that Drake could say about Kendrick until the essay allegations, to your word, was that he was short.
Yeah.
Which to me was like weak.
Yeah.
And then when Kendrick was now like, okay, let's talk about Drake's questionable liaisons with underage people. I mean, as you said, it's not the first time these issues have come up. And I think it is important, especially in an age of social media and an age of, you know, intellectualism, heightened consciousness. We create space for a conversation about unsavory relationships, consent, the fetishization of underage girls. It's not just a rap issue thing or a Hollywood culture thing. It's everywhere in the world, right? Like I was talking to my friends who've just come back from Japan about how the age of consent in Japan only changed in 2023 from 14 to 16.
Goddamn.
And there are still many, many countries where we have child brides. And I've always had this idea of a photo art exhibition where you take the age of consent, like a girl that looks like that age of consent, and then pair her with like a middle-aged man and recreate that classic wedding photo shoot, you know, walking down the aisle with confetti as a reminder of the fact that many children, you know, they're not young women, they are children, are either being coerced into relationships where it's actually legal and okay to, or in the case of allegations made against Drake, where it's actually illegal, but it's just a gray area. And
Right, yeah.
I think we really need to talk about that because there are men listening to this who either are or know people who have had inappropriate conversations with minors.
Right.
Facts.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember when I first used to go on the internet, you'd be like ASL, age, sex, location. Oh, 13F, you know, wherever in the world. What are you wearing? What are you doing? Send me a picture. And these are grown ass men. So you know, it works both ways, right? Like there are women who are heterosexual and probably also like
School teachers.
grooming.
It's
Dude,
like, how many
it's a
times have you seen those
thing.
articles?
For sure.
You know what I'm saying? But obviously, men, like, we ain't shit, because a lot of us will look at that and be like, man, where was that when I was in school? But obviously, that's not an adult way of looking
But
upon
we
it.
need a wake up call, right?
Yeah.
Because one, there's like power dynamics going on. And I remember when I was a girl in high school, like you wanted to be with older guys. That's what was
Right.
cool. And to some extent, there's maybe a biological element. Do women, you know, psychologically mature faster than their male peers? Who knows? Like, I haven't done the research on that. But I feel like as society, we really need to like use this as an opportunity to take a look at what's actually happening. R. Kelly and Aaliyah. Mm-hmm. What about it?
100%.
You know, hip hop in particular has a lot of this going on. And I don't know, like I was seeing TikToks and Instagrams of like guys in Toronto who are like, man, when I was in high school, seeing girls who I had a crush on partying it up in Drake's mansion. Why is Drake throwing parties in his mansion and inviting high school girls?
It's insane.
He's a grown ass man who can invite actual women. So, you know, I can't even imagine how we unpack this. Like, is he so insecure from his teenage years? He's now reliving his teenage years in his adulthood. Does he just generally fetishize young girls? Does he want to be that guy that like pops someone's cherry? Because I remember working with this guy who introduced me to his girlfriend and proudly told me the story of how his now girlfriend was his friend's little sister,
Okay.
who he fancied at school, and he waited for her.
Yeah, that's insane.
And that was the story that they were telling. And she was smiling and he was talking about that. So they'd known each other for like however many years and he waited for her. Something about that's creepy.
100%. You know, it's funny though. There are some people who are the product of that relationship, and they'll be like, "Oh, you know, mom and dad got, you know, the age gap's like 20 years." And like, so hold on, how old was your mom here? Like when they started getting together, but they'll tell it in this nice like.
To be fair,
rosy.
that's in my family.
Yeah, there we go. You see what I'm saying? Like,
my dad was 50.
yeah,
when
exactly.
he had me.
Yeah, but I mean, there's a difference between an age gap and age inappropriate, where somebody is like, you know, 16 or 17 or 18. Drake, you know
People
what?
that end up with their teachers. I think
Yeah.
where there's a power dynamic, that's where it freaks me out. Because at the end of the day, if you're a celebrity, that comes with power. Status can be access to that modeling contract, my music career, industry. And I think it's an abuse of power when you're taking impressionable, vulnerable young people and bringing them into a space with alcohol, drugs, all the things that can impact their decision-making factors. No, man, that's not right.
I honestly feel like, I don't know if there could be a law that makes sense, but there should be a law about like, if you knew somebody at a certain age, you cannot date them legally. So for example, do you know Celine Dion's husband? He was like, he discovered it as a child.
Yes, he was her manager.
He was her manager, but he discovered it as a child, like 13, 14. Said to her parents, please, like, your daughter's very talented. Let's blow her up, basically.
Yeah.
And then I think at the age of 18, 19, she was like, oh, I love you so much. Like, can we get married? And he claimed that, you know, I
Hashtag
fought
daddy
back. I
issues.
said no, blah, blah, blah. But in the end, they did get married. But they had a long-lasting marriage or whatever. But to me, if you knew somebody as a minor,
Yeah.
I feel like that's a cut-off point. That's it.
If you were
Too
old
late.
enough to change my diaper, no.
Yeah. But Drake, I think, let's see. I don't know if the allegations will stick, because actually, rumor has it now that UMG, so Universal Music Group, and I don't know how true this is, and maybe when this comes out, it'll be confirmed or denied, but there was a Zoom call. Kendrick's people were on there. Drake's people were on there.
Shut
Because a lot of
up.
people, a lot of these artists are on labels that when you go up the pipeline of labels, because labels own labels that own labels, they're all owned by Universal,
They're all
basically.
the same.
And Universal's like, hold on, we just gave Drake, I don't know, let's say 20 million for an advance. Nike maybe sponsors Drake. You're going around making big songs that are playing in the club, accusing our asset of being a pedophile, destroying his brand equity.
Yeah.
And actually, we also pay you.
Yeah.
So you work for us.
That's true. The Drake
So like,
stock.
this has got to go now. And
Exactly.
maybe you got to release a statement saying, I
Yeah.
take back, I don't accuse, you know, Kendrick of being,
Yeah.
Drake of being a pedophile. Because these people are brands. They are
Yeah.
businesses in of themselves. It would almost be like if Apple and Nike were going at it saying, you know, Apple is like
Yeah.
the brand for groomers. It's like, no, you can't do that. You're going to get sued, because actually you're causing significant economic damage to people who have
my
put a lot of
gosh.
investment
Protect the
into
share price.
protect the share
And
price.
you can't remove beef from the game.
This is a
Like,
corporate
that is
world.
hip-hop.
This is
beef is part of it. Remember the Source Awards?
Yeah.
The Vibe Awards? People were getting shot.
Yeah, I mean,
Like-
listen, let's hope it doesn't end in violence. There has been a shooting near Drake's house, actually, at this point, where his security guard was, I think, shot. But people are saying it's most likely to do with The Weeknd. So Drake and The Weeknd are no longer friends as well, and they live very close to each other.
Wow.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
pathetic. To be honest, why are grown men
I
just
don't
get along, guys? I don't
I
understand it. I'm like, yo,
know.
you're all rich, you're all
Heal the
multi-millionaires,
world. I
you're all
know.
like super successful, pinnacle of life.
Yeah.
If you had to decide what life you want to have, let's say this was the Matrix, you'd want to be either Drake or The Weeknd. Like, this up there. It's in the top 20 of lives that you'd want. Just get along.
Yeah, but people that seek the spotlight are broken on the inside, right? And
Maniacs.
they're looking for something to fix them. Like, and if they were, not lacking in something in their lives, they wouldn't be going to all that effort to attack other people. Like, they're looking for something, or at the very least, they desperately need to have our attention. And you know what? It's working. We're giving it to them. But Kendrick's got kids. Like, he just needs to move on and be a man about it.
What's your thoughts on the ethics of Drake using a Tupac AI voice in one of his diss tracks? That shouldn't be allowed.
If in 100 years or 200 years someone's using my voice and it's Drake, I'll be sad.
Yeah, especially if it's like you don't think that you would co-sign what was being said.
I mean, Tupac's not going to collab with Drake, is he?
Yeah, I don't think so. Not over Kendrick. Kendrick's West Coast, man, so I sincerely doubt it. But it's going to happen more and more into the future. But while we're away on more, the world is full of serious and troubling things, I'll be honest with you. And we never really spoke about it, to be honest, in the previous episodes. But we got to bring it up now. So obviously right now we've got campus protests, and there was also a protest at Google. So let's start with the Google one first. So this is all about the kind of Israel-Gaza conflict, where basically the genocide is happening right now, the lack of ceasefire, etc. 50 Google contractors basically did a sit-in protest at 2 of the Google offices, basically. Yeah. They were immediately fired, essentially. Now I think some of them are filing a lawsuit against Google, saying that, we weren't disruptive, we have our right to, have freedom of speech, blah, blah, blah. Do you think there's a case there that they can make and say, like, yo, even though we're probably not doing appropriate things as an employee, the cause is the cause, man. We got to come and say something. Because I think apparently, I don't know if they disrupted the CEO. I don't know if they went into his office or something, but basically they made a ruckus in it. And I really respect it, actually. But what's your thoughts on that whole situation? Like,
I feel very disillusioned by everything that's happening, because I think of, like, let's say it was South Africa right now, and then white South Africans just started killing a bunch of black Africans that they share the country with. For me, I would be really struggling to go into work or show up in a space that was allowing that to happen.
Let me clarify. So basically, Google Cloud has a contract with the Israeli government too. So that's the clarifying factor. So in your example, you're going to work in a place that's, supporting the apartheid regime of South Africa, funding it, directly working with it.
Totally. And I think this whole conversation around the genocide has been dictated along money lines, not ethic lines. And that's been the most harrowing part to watch, because all of us, regardless of our identity, are fundamentally like human beings. And few of us are billionaires, right? Few of us are like sitting in public, on the boards of public companies, or sitting at NATO or the UN Security Council. We're just people, we're just citizens of the world. And I think what we're watching is there's a price for dignity, and there's like a price for humanity, and at a certain point, like, you are just unfortunately disposable. And I don't know, it's like really painful to discuss it. For me, I went to a London School of Economics. We were an incredibly political university. Every day there was divest from Israel this, divest from that. Like, students did not want to take Israeli money because Palestine's not free, Palestine's not liberated. And that was in the 2000s, so almost 20 years ago. And I feel that universities are supposed to be a place where we nurture free thought, where we nurture great ideas, big ideas, where we shape the next generation of leaders and pioneers and innovators. And the fact that students were arrested for what, in my opinion, is literally what students are supposed to do, like challenge the status quo, challenge opinions, challenge each other. I think that was like the first misstep, and the first thought to me where I was like, I thought the system was broken. It's actually far more broken than 100%, I thought it was. So when you say, like, do they have a recourse to, fight for their rights? I don't know, because fundamentally, from a philosophical and ethical stance, I feel yes. But in the context of what's happening in America in general, I don't know what institution they can go to that will see things clearly. I mean, this is a country that's been repealing reproductive laws, going to friggin' Margaret Atwood's Handmaid's Tale. This is a country that's arresting students for literally demonstrating. I can't make sense of the United States of America right now.
Yeah, it makes no sense. In terms of those people at Google who lost their jobs, obviously I hope they land on their feet and find new employment. In terms of, you know, what should happen, I would love for them to get some sort of recourse and repayment or whatever. But at the same time, I'm also like, there's also valor and dignity in falling on your sword and saying, F this job. As in like, because if I was doing that, I would know full well I'm probably going to get fired. I'm losing my job. But there is something greater than that and my employment. So whether they get the, you know, any recourse or recompense back, I don't know. But I think there was, it was valiant for them to do it, and probably know full well that probably were going to lose their employment.
I don't think there are any Coinbase employees who walked away when he was like, BLM is political.
No, there was.
There was. No, but I'm saying I don't think there are any who walked away and regret it.
Oh, right. Yes.
Do you see what I'm saying?
Yes.
Like, I don't think anyone walked away and like, oh, I wish I was still there for
Yeah.
that round of layoffs they just did. Or like,
yeah, exactly. Literally.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
A job is a job, but no one's on their deathbed going, oh, I wish I worked at Google 6 more years.
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
People are on their deathbed going like, I stood up for what I believe in. And at the end of the day, like, all we have is what we believe in.
100%.
You know, yeah.
And also, listen, people are such ignoramuses. They don't know history in a sense that pretty much every student protest has like when you look back in hindsight was completely right. The Vietnam War, student protest, apartheid South Africa, completely right. Iraq War. In the UK, there was protests about student loan, student price increases, and so in terms of academic tuition, they were right. They were vindicated. So is it now only their students are wrong? And I think I love about students is that what you can love and hate about students is that they are not part of the economic system in a sense. They're not working.
Yeah.
What comes with work?
Yeah.
Bills, mortgage. How much fuckery has been done in the name of I've got a mortgage, mate?
Oh God.
I've got a mortgage. How many
Lord
bombs have
have
been
mercy.
dropped by a guy who's like, I've got a mortgage? Yeah.
Lord
So
have
much
mercy.
evil has been done with that phrase. But when you're a
Yeah.
student, you're not really in the real world just
Yeah.
yet. So you can work on principle. And
Yeah.
sometimes you might be misguided.
Yeah.
Maybe you don't know what you're talking about. But other times they're on the money,
Yeah.
more so than us regular people.
Absolutely.
Because I think this last kind of, since October 7th, obviously, listen, we condemn all violence against innocent people, full stop. Don't get twisted. Obviously, October 7th was ridiculous and horrendous. And what's happened so far also in this kind of bombardment has also sickened my stomach. But I've seen a lot of people say things in the tech industry where I've been shocked, I'll be honest with you.
Yeah.
Like just the most callous things and
dehumanizing
things, dehumanizing rhetoric. And a lot of the people that have stood up against that are the people with fuck you money. So Paul Graham of YC, fuck you money. He's sold, all these startups. He's invested in all these startups at Y Combinator, filthy rich. He can come out and say, listen, I don't agree with this bombardment campaign in Gaza.
Yeah.
And he was one of the few people to say it quite early. And he can say that because he doesn't have any economic attachment to what's going on in the current world. Whereas I saw other people who are working VCs say things that I'm like,
But you see, that
come
makes
off
me
it,
mad.
mate.
That makes me
I know you
sad
don't believe
because
that.
I also don't have fuck you money, but
Yeah.
I'm still gonna call a genocide a genocide.
Right.
I'm still gonna call a
But
spade a spade.
you will know, and I'm speaking for myself, you will have a tinge of like, I'm scared to say this, but I have to say
I
this.
see what you're saying.
Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm scared to say this, but I have to say
get
this.
cancelled.
I might get cancelled. I might lose out on opportunities. We might lose opportunities. Now, even me now being a VC scout, I don't think I could ever really be a VC because I might say some shit that people ain't gonna fucking like.
Also, people might be attached to the fund as limited partners who you actually
that's what I'm
don't
talking
want
about.
to invest in money. Yeah, okay,
Yeah, the limited partners are like, oh, we don't want to invest in Abadesi and Michael's VC firm because they're talking about things that we don't agree with.
Yeah.
So that's where when
how I got uninvited from the Queen's party.
Exactly, we talked about that, didn't we? And why we'll never get MBEs. Anyways.
Can I just say one thing on this?
Yeah, please, sorry, I
because
interrupted you.
I'm going to just preempt what will happen when this clip goes public. I want to talk about the weaponization of terms. So I want to talk about like the weaponization of a term like
Woke.
anti-Semite.
Oh, that too, yeah?
Yeah, because I've noticed that in the attention economy that we live in, the highly polarized, highly divided, black and white world of social media, words that carry a lot of weight, a lot of gravity, and which mean something in the common lexicon, in common understanding, are being weaponized as a way to like put the mute button on an important message. And what I've seen with the phrase anti-Semite, which I first came across studying World War II, history, the Third Reich, Hitler, concentration camps, as a student in high school, I have seen labeling people who speak out against the killing of children in Palestine through the Israeli army's bombardment of Gaza. I've seen that word used against people who, in line with the UN and other global experts and global authorities, are denouncing the genocide. I've seen that word used incorrect to how I learned it and what I understand it to be
100%.
through my education. And I'm saying this because if we allow people to weaponize words that have meaning, and if we allow people to misuse words, how can we ever communicate with each other?
100%.
All we have is communication. You're living in your skin. I'm living in my skin. I've never even been to Israel or Palestine. I have friends in the Jewish community. I have friends in the Palestinian community. The only way I can have empathy or compassion for what they're going through is to open my ears and listen to what they say and use the common words we have to ask, to question. And when people take those words that have meaning and have had meaning for a really long time and turn them into something else, we start losing.
100%. And obviously, let's not act like there aren't some people who are genuine anti-Semites that maybe go to rallies and say things that are inappropriate and would cross that line. But
just as there are Islamophobic people.
100%. But it doesn't mean that people criticizing a government's actions, political actions, it doesn't make you a racist for criticizing. I don't agree with this bombing campaign. I don't agree with Netanyahu's policies. That does not make you an anti-Semite whatsoever. But it's just a fucked up world, I'll be honest with you, man. Yeah. And this has been going on for such a long time. I remember being 16 and walking into college and meeting somebody who was a Palestinian. I went to a Catholic school, so I never really met anyone who was of like, you know, Muslim extraction or Arab extraction. I had a long conversation with them. And they were then telling me about, yo, my grandfather lost his house, you know, the Nakba, all these things. And I was just like, whoa, like, this is fucked up. And to think now, like, what, 20 years later, it looks like there's not a solution anywhere near close. Doesn't look like we're going to get a two-state solution. It looks like we're probably going to end up with a one state where basically there are 3 tiers of people where you have Israelis with all the rights, Israeli Arabs with some of the rights, and then Palestinians in these territories who have no rights. And I don't know what word to describe that, but apartheid. So shoot me.
Yeah.
If someone can explain to me anything different, then I'm willing to listen and learn. I don't like to throw away these big words.
Yeah.
And I get there's going to be some people who are offended, but I'm just a thinking person trying to think through these things. And I look at this and I'm like, I don't see what this is other than that.
We're trained to hate. You know, when we're children, we don't obsess over religious differences, racial differences, ethnicities. Kids don't even know what a border is.
Yeah.
And as we grow up, we're socialized into ways of thinking. You know, I first became aware of the conflict in the Middle East when I was like 7 or 8. I think I read like a Time magazine.
Look at you,
and I remember
intelligent person.
I remember saying to my dad, I remember I started writing a letter.
Oh wow!
And when I was like, "Oh, what are you doing?" I was like, "I'm writing a letter to the leaders of the Middle East to say
World
that
peace.
they should stop fighting and just love each other." And I was like, because when you're a kid, that's how your mind thinks. It's so simple, but is it really that deep?
Anyways, okay. So after we get cancelled for that segment, let's move on to a new segment. We just offended every single person. Who will take us in after that? So I think the world of AI has progressed since the last time we spoke. And
are you AI?
I'm not AI.
You're not even here right now.
One day. I should have got AI Abadesi to replace you while you were away. That would have been helpful. So Stack Overflow now has partnered with OpenAI. We talked a while ago about how Stack Overflow, which
Sam Altman's world, and we're just living in it.
Basically. So Stack Overflow was a website where developers go in there. It's a Q&A format. You go in there, you ask your questions. Other more senior developers help answer those questions. But its traffic has plummeted because a lot of developers are now using tools like OpenAI, ChatGPT.
And you talked about this ages
I did,
ago.
Yeah. So I think in a symptom of can't beat them, join them, they're now teaming up. And I think there's payments that are going to be given to Stack Overflow, but the exchange is also that OpenAI will help Stack Overflow build its own kind of generative AI LM models within the site, basically.
Interesting.
But it's like a few things thinking about it. One, the sources of data are still very valuable. So Reddit did a deal with an unknown LLM. I think it's Google, but I think they made 200 million. They said since they have started doing that deal where they funnel all that data into kind of Google's LLM or ChatGPT. So I'm sure Stack Overflow's got a similar arrangement. So the sources of data are very valuable. Obviously, that data was created by users, people like me and you that might go on Reddit. Obviously,
Where's my cut?
We don't get none on the economic upside. But at the same time, also, is it a bargain with the devil in the sense that, like, Stack Overflow, what can you do that's going to prevent people from just going direct to ChatGPT? Like, why? Maybe let's get as much money as we can before this whole website becomes defunct and useless.
It's an interesting one. I mean, who knows how much their traffic has been hit? It could be a Hail Mary. Let's just give it a go before we're completely obsolete. You know, there was a time where Ask Jeeves ruled the world. Who even remembers
Gen Z's like, what's that?
Yeah,
Gen Z's like, what's
that? But yeah, I mean, I think it's actually, you know, one of those things where we've seen such utility for like generative AI. People want the least frictionless path.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think probably it makes it, I mean, you know, if I was in Stack Overflow's shoes, I might be making similar moves. Who knows?
Yeah. Shout out to Sam Altman. He's forever going to get, you know, make his money. The other thing actually is that a lot of...
What's happening to the Elon lawsuit? No one's heard about that in a while.
Yeah, it's kind of on the back burner. But
Okay.
the thing that was interesting is that Facebook launched their own kind of LLM as well.
Yeah.
And it's completely open source. And what I've read up that I found interesting is that when you are in a sector where you are behind, you open source everything to crush the profit center of your rivals.
Yeah.
So obviously to Microsoft and ChatGPT who are partnered up, that's a profit center. To Facebook, it's not. So, but if you want to crush your enemy, you just launch an open source free version, just like Google launched Sheets, which is an open source free, not open source, but a free version of
Excel.
with Excel and Word and whatever. Like, so when you're behind, you open source. When you're in front, you privatize, try to close everything up and try to make it into kind of a profit center in it. So Zuckerberg, listen, that's the other thing. The Zuck's glow up. Go talk about that quickly later on.
I was just gonna say that going back to that, it's true that like first mover advantage is something that entrepreneurs will always try and be, right? Or gain. And then in the absence of first mover advantage, how else can you like deteriorate the market share of your competitor? And it is to just like offer something for free, so people get the same utility at a lower price point. But yeah, okay, Zuck's glow up.
What do you think?
As in, do I fancy Mark Zuckerberg now? He's
No. But let's say we don't want to degrade human beings and give them a score out of 10. But let's not act like people don't do that. Has he gone from a 4 to a 5 at least in your mind?
What's that game? Shag, marry, avoid.
To be fair,
Zuck, Altman, Musk.
he did Hot or Not. He made Hot or Not when he was at Facebook, so it's fair game.
Yeah.
He's not an innocent bystander.
So what, you think he's slowly been moving?
Has he gone from a
along
4 to a
the
5?
spectrum from not to hot?
Or a 3 to a 4?
What is that chain?
The gold chain.
Is that like an aura ring?
I don't know.
Data, something? Because I know it's not a style choice.
I think it is a style choice.
It's got to be some kind of wearable that he's like deep, you know, influencing into our subconscious mind.
I don't think billionaires do a lot of things on accident. I think a lot of his kind of public persona now is but I don't mean it's a technological thing. I mean he's probably got a team of handlers.
He's channeling an early 2000s Justin Timberlake.
I mean it's working. I genuinely think the public perception of him, at least within the kind of Silicon Valley tech world that I see on Twitter, is a lot more positive now that he's gone to like he's got fitter, he's gone to the UFC, he's, you know, ingratiating himself in that kind of fight world, he's growing his hair out a little bit. I think nothing is accidental. I think he's got a team of PR people who are like, let's make you more likable because we don't want you sat in front of Congress doing another kind of Q&A section, I am a robot type situation. And if you're unlikable,
they're humanizing him.
Wow. Because he's a multi-billionaire who's under threat in that sense where your assets will be taken if you do not humanize yourself.
Can I just use this opportunity to say that if there are any billionaires out there who want to be humanized, I charge a very reasonable price. I can do this for you. You want the glow up? I'm a girl. Fascinating. Absolutely fascinating. Well, we're talking about it, I guess. We're talking about it. I still wouldn't.
I'm not saying let's not go that far, but I'm just saying like, has he inclined a few points on the Richter scale, innit? But anyway, shout out to Zuck, man. Actually, so something that will super benefit Zuck is this forced sale of TikTok. So we've got to talk about it. That's been popping up since we've been gone. So I think
You buying it?
Ah, boy, if I got the money, I'll do it. So Biden has signed into law. Basically, they've got 9 months. Either divest and sell, or you're gone.
Didn't see that coming.
Yeah. The interesting thing is that Mitt Romney, so the former presidential candidate who went up against Obama, I think he's still a senator. Okay. He was in some sort of Q&A forum, and he let slip that a lot of the reason why TikTok was banned was because there's a lot of pro-Palestinian content on there. No. More so than other kind of social media platforms. America. I'm not saying that's the only reason why you would legitimately want to ban TikTok. I don't think there is an argument to, you know, obviously
How long till we have a Muslim president?
What, in the US?
Yeah.
Long time to go. But I mean, I'm saying that there are probably still legitimate reasons why you might be concerned about TikTok in terms of the fact that, you know, China doesn't let in Facebook, WhatsApp, Instagram. So obviously there's a reason why, you know, you might want to have that reciprocity. But yeah, I think he said the quiet part out loud.
Wow.
The whole it's about narrative control, and they can't control TikTok, the narrative that TikTok has. Even a few months ago, do you remember there was like, Bin Laden's letter to America? You know, Bin Laden did a letter to America after 9/11. That went viral on TikTok where all the kids were like, yeah, man, he's got a point. Obviously, I don't agree with that completely.
The fabric of society
but that's what scares people. The fabric of society, the youth, the mind of the youth is being controlled by this platform.
The irony being that or the fact that you're repealing reproductive rights, like leaning so far into like misogyny, racism, white supremacy, ableism, all these other things. Yeah, it's none of those things, guys.
Yeah.
It's TikTok.
I know.
Sure. Like, talk about like friggin' scapegoating something.
Yeah.
Like the toxicity that is undermining, you know, the health of the youth and the fabric of society is the extremism that's been like a foundation of that country since its inception.
Right.
The populism, the extremism. TikTok is like, you know, a symptom, but it's not the disease.
Yeah, and I think what's next probably after this will be like Signal, a lot of these kind of end-to-end encrypted apps. I'm pretty sure. I think that's definitely where they're gonna go.
For Techish, yo.
Anyways, I think that's enough for this week's episode. We really appreciate you lot coming back and tuning in. Abadesi, welcome back, and
Thanks.
we will catch you next week. Hit us up at Techish Pod on Instagram and Twitter. Leave a review, and we miss you. Peace.
Bye.